what was your biggest, what did you say your biggest mistake was of 2022? Like, what do you think your biggest learning experience was?
Yeah,
I'll
so I
start with
think my
mine.
big
I'll
okay.
start with mine. Is I don't think I hedged out enough, right? Like I sold some stuff, but I should have, and I think part of it is because maybe I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I don't want to sell this. Like there were things that I knew I'm like, all right, but like I don't want to sell it here because what if it keeps going higher? Meanwhile, like I've experienced a huge return, like very quickly, and I'm just like, oh well, I think 10 years from now, it's going to be significantly higher, and just being like not realizing it's like, yeah, like I could sell it here and buy back everything and more like at a lower price if I wanted to, and just kind of maybe leaning into the fact that I wasn't trading anymore. I think that was my biggest learning lesson for this year, is that like I think at the end of the day, especially when you have inflation running so wild, you have central banks that have turned everybody into a like everybody's short rates, right? Everybody's been short rates for the last 20 plus years. And it's like you have to realize that once that regime change starts to happen, you also have to balance your portfolio accordingly. And I think that was the mistake that I made, is that I was just like, oh yeah, like I can withstand a 50% drawdown, and like forgetting like how, it's like, well, I'm not levered, so like it won't hurt as much, but like no matter what, it always hurts. And I think that that was my biggest learning from 2022.
Yeah, I think most people would tell you that's probably, 2020 hindsight, they would have sold, their apes at 500 and punks at, whatever they were at the beginning of the year, 300K, coming off like a $500,000 floor in September of the year prior. For me, I think, obviously we'll love to go back and do that. I was bearish spot going into this year just for the reasons that you flag, and I sold 95% of my spot exposure. But I decided to kind of keep what I call the barbell portfolio. So I had stable coins on one end and then JPEGs on the other, kind of hoping to capture the convexity if it kept on going up, and making sure it was protected on the spot price. And the mistake that I made there was not realizing how high the correlation was going to be on the way down as well between spot prices and the JPEGs. Thinking in dollar terms, I think my JPEGs in ETH terms held up pretty well, but it was that again, when I look at, hey, I want to go buy a house or I want to go buy a car or whatever, it's like, oh shit, yeah, well, 50 ether is no longer $200,000. And
Right.
I think for me that, and then just timing, I had some right trades, and I just either overstayed my welcome or didn't wait long enough to really profit from them. The combination of both, looking back at the year, that's what I'm trying to change for next year.